Baruch, Boker Tov. If you remember, we spoke about the idea of that my tools, my equipment is not, I'm not obligated to keep it from violating Shabbat, as we say. We say only over my animals. My animals need to make sure they're not going to violate Shabbat on a task that I cause them to do, or even other person, but my tools can work on Shabbat. As I work on Shabbat, I can rent it out to a goy. Similar to this, I am allowed to start a labor before Shabbat that will continue by itself through Shabbat, even though I'm not allowed to continue it in Shabbat, but it's going to continue by itself. For example, I want to water my garden. So I open the sprinkler system, I open the water before Shabbat, it continues to Shabbat. Let's say I have a timer in there or something, it's allowed. Even though now this is going to water my plants, and it's something that's not allowed to do in Shabbat, but since I started before Shabbat, it can continue by itself to Shabbat. Another thing, if I want to cook something, I forgot to cook it before Shabbat, way before Shabbat. Now I'm only like 10 minutes before Shabbat, I put the pot on the hot plate, on the crock pot, I turn it on, even though there's no chance they're going to be ready in these 10 minutes, since I started before Shabbat, it can continue going to Shabbat, and when it's completely cooked on Shabbat, I'm allowed to take it out and eat it, even though it's cooked only in Shabbat, since I started before Shabbat. Or also the water, the hot water urn that I want to make sure I have hot water for Shabbat, so I forgot to start it before Shabbat. Now, we are only like 1-2 minutes before Shabbat, we start it, it's going to run to Shabbat, so the next morning, on Shabbat morning, we're allowed to use this hot water, even though it's boiled on Shabbat, since it started before. Okay, that's the idea. So even though this my equipment is my tools and it's do a labor on Shabbat, since I started in a permissible time, it was still allowed before Shabbat, I can continue it. Another thing is very common is laundry. You want to make the laundry, so you're allowed to put the clothes inside, close it, start it, even a couple of minutes before Shabbat, that is going to continue run to Shabbat, and there's nothing to concern. About taking it out is going to be a problem. Why? Because when you take it out, sometimes it's still wet, and you're gonna do schita. You may squeeze it a little bit, but just to put it in there, and it's gonna stay there, and after Shabbat you're gonna use it. There is no problem. And why? Because I started in a permissible time. The time was allowed. So this concept needs to be known, that what we say that I need to cease from working. Not only me, but my servants also. Not only my servants, but my animals as well. But my tools, my equipment, is not have to be to stop working. It continue to work by itself to the Shabbat. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen.